Be secure in an unsafe world. Let's turn to Psalms 46. Elohim is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, the stream whereof shall make glad the city of Elohim, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. Elohim is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. Elohim shall help her, and that right early. The heathen raged, kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Elohim of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of Yahweh. What desolations he has made in the earth. He makes wars to cease unto the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear asunder. He burns the chariots in the fire. Be still and know that I am Elohim. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Elohim of Jacob is our refuge. The psalmist tells us through his own experience, Yahweh is our refuge and strength and ever-present help in trouble. That's where we can find true security and peace. In this psalm, there are three things. First is the security is in Yahweh, not in the world. We are to look to the Creator, not the creation, to love the giver and not the gifts. This world has little to offer. He says the earth can give way, the mountains can fall into the sea, the waters can roar and foam, and the mountains quake. We're asked to turn to Yahweh, for He alone can be our refuge and strength. Yahweh is ever-present help. He is our hope, nothing else. We have only one source of security, Yahweh. When the economy collapses, war breaks out, natural disasters destroy our homes, government fails, our health deteriorates, friends betray us, Yahweh is the only place we can find security. Our world, with all of its advancements in education, technology, and science, is no safer today than it was thousands of years ago. In fact, we feel more threatened today than those days when people lived in villages and wooden huts. Now, this is a true story. A retired couple was alarmed by the threat of nuclear war, so they undertook a serious study in all of the inhabited places of the globe. Their goal was to determine where in the world would be the place to be least likely affected by a war. A place of ultimate security. They studied and traveled and traveled and studied, and finally they found a place. An island. And on Christmas, they sent their pastor a card from their new home in the Falkland Islands. However, history tells us their so-called paradise was soon turned into a war zone by Britain and Argentina. Anything can happen at any second. We need to have anti-terrorism drills. We are at the whim of circumstance. There's no security unless we have placed ourselves in the hand of the one who holds eternity, who is in control of all things. We need to turn to Yahweh, more so in these last days. Only when we seek Yahweh can we find rest for our soul. The psalmist wrote, "Be still and know that I am Elohim," in Psalms 46, verse 10. Be still, know that I am Elohim. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. Psalms 20, verse 7. Some trust in chariots, some in horses, but we will remember the name of Yahweh, our Elohim. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. Yahweh is waiting to hear us call to him for help. And if we call, he will respond. This is important. When you are secure in Yahweh, you do not need the security of other things. We believe that Yahweh is still in control and is seated firmly on his throne. That is why we can say in Psalms 46, verse 1, Elohim is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried away in the midst of the sea. Now the second truth we need to have planted deeply in our lives is our security comes from our faith, not from our circumstances. But the psalmist was able to feel secure and happy, not because of these things. He says in verse 5, 46 verse 5, Elohim is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. Elohim shall help her, and that right early. Yahweh is within the city. Therefore she will not fall. Psalms 46, 7. Yahweh, the host, is with us. The Elohim of Jacob is our refuge. Yahweh Almighty is with us. His faith is in the presence of Yahweh, and that gives him hope and security. Not because the city has huge walls or strong gates, not because they are seasoned warriors or have great weapons, but because Yahweh is with them. We pray today not to have a good life or that Yahweh will make us rich. Yahweh can bless us materially with riches. Yahweh wants us to enjoy his good gifts, just as we want our children to enjoy what we give them. But he does not want us to depend on things. He wants us to depend on him. Our trust is not in things, but in him. We pray for the strong faith that in the midst of changing world, we will continue to trust that Yahweh is with us. His presence will be our peace and joy. We want to have faith in him no matter what happens. Yeshua said in John 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world gives, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." There are those who live in great prosperity. They have lots of money and possessions, yet their lives are consumed with worry and fear. There are those in our world today who live in a very difficult and dangerous places, yet have a great sense of security because they have placed their faith and hope in Yahweh. Job was robbed of everything around him, but he chose to place his trust in Yahweh. He was shaken, but he did not fall. Psalms 125, verse 1. They that trust in Yahweh shall be as Mount Zion, which cannot be removed, but abide forever. Security is not absence of trouble, but the confidence and courage we have in the midst of trouble. This comes from a faith in Yahweh, and in this faith, this gives the psalmist the courage to say, "We will not fear." Psalms 46:2. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. We can have the same courage today. Yeshua said in John 16:33, "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." Our confidence cannot be shaken because we have an Elohim who is in complete control. We have courage not because we are strong, but because we have an Elohim who is strong. He is powerful and he rules over all. Yahweh has not changed, and his love will see us through. In Romans 8:35, who shall separate us from the love of Messiah? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, famine, nakedness, or peril, or sword? No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him that loves us. We are secure in an unsafe world because the one who loves us is with us. The third truth we need to have planted deeply in our lives is this: our security is in eternity, not in the present. Come and see the works of the Lord. Ultimately, Yahweh wins. This world is not our home. This world is not our home. If you are looking only at the present circumstances, you will be shaken. But if your life is grounded in eternity, you will stand firm. As believers, our lives have an eternal dimension. We know that nothing that happens here can harm or change the things that matter to us most. Our relationship with Yahweh, our home is his kingdom. The presence of our loved ones and friends who have known Messiah and lived for him, nothing can change those things. No one can take them away. In Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahweh, to them who are the called according to his purpose. Yahweh works in all the situations in our lives to bring about his good. He does not cause them, but he does use them. We understand that terrorist attacks were not the will of Yahweh. Those who did it went against his will. Yahweh had nothing to do with them, but Yahweh will use these things for his eternal purposes. Our confidence does not go up and down with the stock market. Our security is not in how good the news is on television. For Yahweh says in this Psalms 46 verse 10, "Be still and know that I am Elohim. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth." As believers, we understand that there is evil in the world, but Yahweh will judge the evil in this world. Ultimately, good will triumph over evil. Truth will be victorious over the lie. Love will win out over hate. Yahweh wins. There's no guarantees in this world for any of us. We are not immune from the harms of this world, but we are loved. We have a Father who watches over us. We are his children, and that is our security. We have a song with the words, "There's a place where living waters flow." My mind is on that city, and this I know. There are treasures now awaiting, where the streets are purest gold. I want to go where living waters flow. We are secure in an unsafe world because our security is in eternity, not in the present. We have a good Elohim, and he will lead us safely back to our eternal home in his kingdom, where living waters flow. We can turn to him. We must turn to him. He is with us. No matter where the journey takes us, he takes our hand and he walks beside us. There's no better news. There's no greater security. You know, there's security in the rock. Now, the rock badger hides in the crags of the rocks. They are grayish in color and blends well with the rocks. When a predator comes to attack, they will run into the hole in the crag of the rock, and the vultures or the eagles must sweep down on them before they can get into the rocks. The badger knows where their security lies. If they decide to go off into the field or forest, venturing away from the rock, then it is vulnerable. It doesn't matter how courageous they are. It doesn't matter how strong or fast they can run. The most courageous badgers can fall victim to the smallest wolf or lion when it wanders away from the rock. A badger is dead meat. If you have the wisdom of a badger, you will know where your security is. The rock of ages. The security you must have is the security of Yahweh himself. In Psalms 9 verse 9, Yahweh also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee, for thou, Yahweh, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. With that,